Welcome everybody to the May acquisition SIG for Koha. I hope everyone has had a good month so far. And I know we're in a public library, so we're gearing up for summer reading and all those exciting things. So I'm sure the other public libraries are doing the same thing. So we had a question from Christie about invoices and different things. So I kind of wanted to spend some time just sharing experiences with invoicing and different things. That's one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to report back that, was it last month, we actually signed off on an acquisition bug, and it has been pushed to master. Since it was my name that it got signed under, I got all the notifications, so yay us. We got something through the system. It was let's see, purchase suggestions and having I think it was a drop down where customers could select different reasons for why they were suggesting the book. So that should be in 2211, I would guess. I think that's the next one that's coming out. So I just wanted to report back on that. And then any other things that people have run across that you want to talk about related to acquisitions in Koha. So to get started, we will talk about invoicing and things like that. So there's kind of two experiences that people can have with invoicing. If you don't have EDI, then a lot of it is manual, and you have a lot of control over it. You actually receive things, and pardon me, based on what you're actually receiving in the boxes and things like that. The other way is if you're EDI, they get electronically received. There's an electronic invoice that gets shipped to an FTP server. Koha goes and grabs those invoices and then automatically receives everything on there kind of under the covers and usually in the dark of night. So you don't really know that is happening. So I'm just going to start with these questions that Christie had, and if you want to jump in and share your thoughts or whatever, that's great. Credits. This is something that credits are not accounted for in Koha through EDI invoicing. So that is a very true statement. So if and credits don't get credited to your funds in if you're using EDI invoicing, that's you have to go in and manually process those later. And the other thing related to that is cancellations don't get processed automatically with EDI invoicing. So you've got to take those, emails or whatever that you get from the vendor that say, oh, we're not going to ship you this, we're not going to ship you this, for whatever reasons, the publisher canceled it or, whatever. And so then you need to go back in and change those, delete them from your orders, delete them from, for us, we have on order records that show up in the catalog. I'm sure most of you do. And so we have to go back in there. And we had one time, I think we had holds on something that got canceled like that. So, just a few emails to say, hey, you know, we're not going to get this because the publisher canceled it, kind of thing. But so I know the previous ILS that we were on actually did process the cancellations. And that was something, maybe somebody can search on this for me. But I think we put in a bug in Bugzilla to ask, you know, for a developer to suggest that there be that processing where you deal with canceled items, like the EDI invoicing would actually handle the canceled items. Does anybody have, well, first of all, you know, this is kind of a question for just the people that are using EDI, but has anybody figured out a smooth way of dealing with this? Do you have reports? Do you have any kind of special process, or do you just kind of get the cancellate or the credits, the credit memos or whatever they're called, and go in and update your system manually?
I get the email from Baker and Taylor and I just go in one by one, but normally it's only maybe 20 items maybe per email. So it 10 minutes is done, but we don't do anything with credit memos because I think I've only ever seen like 2 a year maybe. So we don't really, oh, it's $10. Oh, well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. But that is something that if there isn't a bug out there, I can check afterward. I was going to check before, and then I got a phone call right before this meeting started, and that ended that. Okay. So the next question is, it's challenging to match up pricing of received items according to the pricing that was quoted when ordering, since everything's automated. It was easier to track overcharges or incorrect pricing when entering invoices manually and receiving items manually. So this is where I put Holly on the spot. So we had this issue.
I think I'm having audio issues. Rhonda, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we were having issues where our electronic invoices and the ones that we do Ingram, that Ingram sent us email wise, weren't the same. Like they didn't match, the numbers weren't matching. And we found a couple of problems. You know, we were one of the first libraries to use EDI, so we were helping out, debugging it quite a bit. So we ended up having Bywater write a report for us that showed all, and Holly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it showed each invoice that came in. You know, we'd run it for a certain day or a couple days, and then it would see each invoice and what Koha thought the total was. And then it was much easier just to compare those, you know, the paper one versus the, or you know, the email one versus the Koha electronic one. Holly, do you want to say anything more about that?
Yeah, sure. So the report that we run is it's number 914. I usually just search it by the term invoice, but it'll bring up a little calendar wheelie dealy and then your vendor spot. And so I just match the date to the invoice and the vendor. With Ingram, I think we have 5 accounts that it'll match to. So I just match the invoices to the day, make sure everything's there. Our standing order stuff doesn't come through EDI, so those I have to manually enter, but it's worked out really well for us so far. With Ingram, because that's our major vendor. we still do some manual entry of smaller vendor invoices.
Yeah. So does anybody else have a different way that they, kind of spot check or anything to make sure that what Koha is
I was going to mention earlier when Michelle was talking about cleaning up the canceled orders, we do that manually too. When Ingram says the title status reports and Midwest Tape, I just go to their website and do the canceled report, and we just go in manually and clean up the records, and it doesn't take very long.
Yeah,
for the most.
That's good. Okay.
So if I may jump in, thank you everyone. This is Christie. So I appreciate and value everyone's input because I'm looking at possibly going back to manual invoicing, and reason being that we're doing the outsourcing of cataloging and processing right now. And we're also charged tax, which I realize many of you, I don't know if any of you are charged tax, but it's causing problems in our EDI streams. For instance, Midwest will charge tax only on the processing, but not on the cataloging. Therefore, when it's parsed out via Koha EDI, it goes into the shipping cost, and Bywater's had to write certain lines for me in our plugins to accommodate this. We're with Midwest and with Brodart right now. And so there are certain times when and I'm sure you have all experienced this too, where sometimes we'll get in books and they were supposed to be laminated and they weren't laminated, or they were processed incorrectly. So as a result, I'm getting at times from either vendor that, oh, we'll give you a blanket credit, for processing and or cataloging of X amount. So then I'm stuck with like, okay, well, where do I apply this credit? Because it's not on just one invoice, and it has to be an invoice that has a significant amount. If it's $100-something, then it has to be an invoice that has at least that much in cataloging and processing. Then I have to match it up with the city and so on and so forth. So I'm just looking at, are any of you still doing manual invoicing? And if so, is that working for you, or are you not happy with it? And also vice versa, is EDI invoicing the greatest thing ever and you'll never switch back?
So Christy, you're from Monterey, right?
Correct.
I'm up in Roseville by Sacramento. So we just went to EDI invoicing this fiscal year, and we're kind of doing it hybrid. So our processing fees are coming through the EDI invoice, but our taxes are not. And that when we get the box, I get the paper invoice and I just search the invoice number in Koha, find it, make sure all the prices match each book, and then add in that 2, 5, 10, whatever dollar tax into an adjustment. That way I can see every single one that matches what Koha says manually. And also because we weren't sure if they would start coming over correct, right? Because it's brand new to us. I wasn't sure if, oh, well, the budget is completely blown up because nothing is accurate. So it's kind of a back check of it's correct in Koha, it's correct in the paper, and the tax doesn't get all messed up because there wasn't really an easy way to do tax, as you discovered.
So you're happy with that? You're going to stick with it for a while?
Yep, with our little hybrid way, because I like being able to see everything. I tried doing the report that Rhonda listed. I don't know how many meetings ago. I could never get the report to run right. It always gave me an error for some reason. So I never used that that's a very nice report. I imagine it probably would work beautifully if I could get it to actually import correctly into ours.
Yeah.
So Michelle, were you were able to get the vendors to actually invoice you separately for taxes, or it's still on the same invoice and you're making the adjustment?
Still on the same paper invoice. It's always been the same. We told them when we got EDI, we still want the double copies because I do keep a copy here. And we also get a condensed monthly invoice of every single invoice together on one invoice, because we now have Oracle and they hate it. They can't do the one by one invoice that we were doing previously in our old city monetary system. I forgot what it's called now. And I think that's where the credit memos would get applied on that huge monthly one that gets imported into Oracle and finance. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts, anything that people do that to verify that, you know, if you're using EDI, just verifying that what you're getting automatically received and what's actually being done match up. Okay. We had one more question. It's almost the end of our fiscal year, and through troubleshooting with vendors and Bywater, our physical invoices are still not matching up with the koha invoices. It's mainly to do with tax charges. Well, I know many of you are not charged tax. We are charged tax on items and C&P with one vendor, and items and processing, not cataloging, with another vendor. So this causes the need for a special script to be added to the EDI plugins. So how are you guys, how is everybody doing like the, for us, I'll just tell you my question related to this is we have one vendor that our items are, we see the items individually charged, and then we have a total for the processing and all that kind of stuff at the end. So we just have the total for that invoice. Then another vendor kind of includes the processing in with each item. So there isn't that overall total, but we do get a better sense of how much each item actually is costing us that way. What are some of the rest of you doing as far as the Overdrive invoices? So how do you pay for these? Creating an invoice. Okay. All right, Maribel, we'll get to your question in a sec. So does anybody, how do people do this? Do you have, do you track the processing separately? Do you use that information, or does it not matter? Obviously, we aren't tracking it because our vendors aren't doing the same thing. I'm sort of wondering if I want to go through the pain of changing the way our one vendor sends us the information so that we have the processing separate, so we can get a better idea of how much that's costing us. Okay, Judy says Baker and Taylor sends a separate invoice for processing, and we track it separately for them. Okay.
We have ours going into a separate budget line under the overall parent fund, Baker and Taylor.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So
when you do that, Michelle, I'm sorry, when you do that, then if you had mentioned that you're receiving the invoices, they still have the cataloging and processing on each invoice, correct?
Yeah, like on the very bottom invoice, I'm sure that's the same for you guys. It has like that breakout, and the very bottom is the processing $10, tax $2. So the processing goes into the shipping fund of the EDI invoice, and the tax is nowhere other than the paper invoice. So when I find the invoice in Koha, I just add it there. I can show you with pictures if you would like. I can get your email later if you would like, because you use Baker and Taylor too, so it'll be easier.
Yeah, we used to have Baker and Taylor. We actually have Bodart, but we're doing the same kind of thing. But Rhonda just mentioned that C&P, our library actually likes to look at that as kind of replacing employee, like staff charges, because we used to have in-house cataloging do that. So we are wanting to pull that out of a different fund. So that's why I was wondering, Michelle, about you, like you said that you're doing that as well, but you're still including it in the actual invoice in Koha. But it sounds like maybe when you reconcile, you have to pull that number out, right, to go to a different fund.
Yep.
You're mute. Oh,
You're mute.
Thank you. People keep walking back and forth. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see what our acquisition looks like real quick. So give me 1 second. I always forget how to do this in Zoom. There it is. And okay, share. Move my face out of the way. All right, can you see Koha right now?
Yep.
All right, so where is it? So here is our processing fee line right here. So when the invoice comes, the processing fees will just go into there, and our tax is right here broken out separately. So that's how we keep track of it. So because on our Oracle, our book prices are a separate line from our tax line, from our processing fee line. So when they go up to the city, they can break it out nicely to say, oh, we spent $20 on processing overall the entire fiscal year, and this is how much was in tax. So it's completely broken out at the higher level. So I guess if you were having other people outside of Monterey do your processing fees, you can have that line item separated out to say this exact amount of money was spent on processing with the other people.
would you mind, Michelle, bringing up like an invoice just to show me how it's broken out in
Yes.
Koha?
I can do that. Spent. Maybe. Come on. Of course, they're going to be super. So in this right here, we have 2 items, deer, tree, frog, name that feeling. Oh wait. Oh, this isn't automatically yours. Doesn't actually have it in the shipping cost, but normally if it's an EDI ordered, the shipping cost is going to be the processing fee cost. And down here is the adjustment for taxes. So the 442 in taxes.
Okay, and then the shipping cost is, I'm sorry, what did you say? It's going to be the tax?
So up here where it says shipping cost, when you have your EDI set up, I think you guys are doing this. I'm not sure. Let me go back and find one that is not an automatically yours invoice. Come on. Of course, they're all going to be AOI right now. One of these days. Come on. Might have been faster to do the other way. Okay, hold on. Let's do. Want to make sure we get one. I might have just clicked that honestly in AOI. Come on. Sometimes Koha can be so slow when you want to do something fast. See it thinking. Oh, because I did this. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so you see up here, the shipping cost is 26 so far, and the shipping fund is the processing fee account. And then I manually added in the taxes here. And here's like book items, of course, down here.
Okay, so your taxes, you're not putting the taxes on the actual items, which Koha usually, you can have them, that could be automated, but you're not doing that?
No, because as you notice, Midwest, they don't charge taxes on, if I remember this correctly, Baker and Taylor charge taxes on the entire amount, including processing. Midwest only charges taxes on the physical item, not the processing fees. So it would, if we did the built-in Koha way, it broke everything. So we just manually added in. And as I said, it gives a chance to verify the paper invoice matches what Koha said it's supposed to be.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Let me stop my share. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any other thoughts or comments about cataloging processing fees, all that kind of stuff?
Can I just ask as we end this, is anyone still manually receiving invoices?
Yeah.
And if so, is it working? I mean, are you happy with it?
No, I'm so glad to be on EDI invoicing now because it's just me and one other person part-time doing the entire receiving. And I went from my entire day being receiving 10 boxes to now like 2 hours of my day because I am the technical services head. I'm the a front desk person. I do partly librarian work because Roseville is so small with our staff that I do literally everything with other people. So I don't have time to do manual invoices in perpetuity.
Bedford is still doing manual, but we're planning on doing EDI, but we need to find the time in order to be able to set everything up. So we haven't made the move yet.
Manual, but only for just a few vendors that we don't get a ton of invoices from, like Bound to Stay Bound and Cengage. So it doesn't take but a few minutes to input those when we have them. So our major vendors, Midwest and Ingram, those are all EDI. So that's a time save for us.
And are most of you relying on the Koha fund tracking and budget tracking to report back, like to your director or whoever you report to, or are you tracking that separately, like in an Excel sheet or another program?
With Excel and also with our city's finance system, we do, I know at least some of our collection developers lean on the Koha a lot. I don't trust it a whole bunch. I prefer our Excel and our city management because those numbers are very, I don't tangle too much with the on order money, I guess. But yeah, we use some backup tracking as well. Rhonda knows I don't love the Koha money tracking.
Yep. And Judy put in the chat that she uses Quicken. I haven't found Koha to be reliable enough. I think it's gotten more reliable than when we were first on it, but more so. But every once in a while, there's little hiccups. And
well,
that's
at Bedford, we charge all of our orders to P cards. And so the city doesn't care what's in Koha, they care what's on the P card statements.
Yep.
So we consider that to be, the correct thing. There may be some minor differences, but not enough for me to worry about.
Yeah, that's similar for us. We basically monthly cut a check, and it's the city's accounting that's the final say. They don't even know Koha tracking exists in their world. But we break down the funds or the accounts more granularly in Koha. So that kind of helps our collection developers. Like if there's multiple, 2 or 3 collection developers that are hitting the same fund, we break that out in Koha to allocate to them what they each get to spend. So that helps with that kind of thing. Okay, so let's go back to Maribel's question. So do any of you pay Overdrive invoices? And if so, how do you pay for these? Are you manually creating an invoice? And if so, how do you create an invoice? So does anybody here track Overdrive spending in Koha?
We do.
Okay.
And I manually create an invoice too.
Okay.
We do too, but I don't understand what you mean by you have to create invoice because you receive invoice, right? You talked about the EDI.
Overdrive doesn't do EDI.
So when you receive the invoice from Overdrive, it's already invoice. You just stamp and send to the county, Am I missing something?
I think the question is here, do you track that spending in Koha? If I'm not correct.
Yeah, we do. We just create EDI as separate payment.
I
Okay,
can show you Ping if you want to share that. I can share my screen real quick.
Sure.
So let's see. So we create a basket. Can you guys see?
yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So as you guys all probably know, you need to have something in Koha to be able to receive it and put an invoice to it. At
Yeah,
least that's my understanding. So like here's what 2019, and then so we have something that we created in our catalog, electronic resource, and then we'll just receive it like a regular invoice. Does that make sense? And it's
Yeah. That's what I'm doing too. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Mhm.
My name is Ray, by the way. Ray and Maribel, we're new to Koha. We just started like a couple of months ago. We're from Monterey County Free Libraries. I'm glad to be here with all of you. We're way beginners, so a lot of the stuff that you're saying, we're not in EDI, none of that stuff yet. So we're just basically starting. And we've encountered various problems that it seems like you guys have encountered also with doing things manually. So eventually we're going to go to EDI. But that was one of our main questions. So we with our old system, we were able to track everything that was part of the budget in Polaris, which is what we had before. And we're trying to figure out a way to do it easily here with Koha. And that's why we're asking these questions. It's not only Overdrive, but we were planning on, we used to have our databases also as part of the collection budget, et cetera, in there. And they explained something like what you were showing us now, but it seemed like it was a kind of a difficult process. But we'll try it again and see how it works for us. But thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We're so happy to have new people join us because then we get new perspectives and we can talk through things, helps clarify stuff in our heads.
Maybe if someone could show us actually how to create or how to actually, create a manual invoice, that would be awesome. If somebody can contact it, I'll put my email on the chat. And
Does somebody feel ambitious to show everybody? Because this will be this is being recorded, so you can go back to it and see it.
I could do it because it won't hurt to do like a 1 penny invoice, then delete it out. Let's see here.
All right, so Michelle's going to show it to us, and then this will be recorded and saved on the koha-us.org website, so you can go back to it and see it there. But then, if you want to put your email in there, anybody can contact you as well. We're happy to help.
All right. Do you guys see the acquisition screen?
Not yet.
Oh, it's not. Oh, because I always forget you got to click the share.
Yeah.
Right. Now do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, we did the comment databases came up. So we're going to just pick ABC mouse. So go up here. I forget what our vendors actually call it for ABC mouse. It's not called that. Whatever. We'll just do a random vendor. We'll do EBSCO. So you don't actually need to have an entire record made. If you just make one basket with no items in it, you don't ever have to attach it to an item. So in this case, I have a blank EBSCO basket that I leave here forever. So I'm going to receive a shipment. I'm going to pretend my invoice is titled, I don't know, EBSCO 1, 2, 3, 4. And it was a $10 EBSCO invoice. And I'm going to attach it to my EBSCO fund. If I can find it in here. Now, of course, I forgot what the EBSCO one is called because my boss usually does the EBSCO one. Newsbank, that works. Next. And then finish receiving because I'm not actually receiving any items. And there you go. So you have your shipping date of today. You have $10 attached to your news bank funds. And then I click close and I click save. And now this should show up after I find out where technically I put it. Maybe once Koha thinks about it for 20 years. And where are you? News bank. So right here in news bank, there's now going to be an extra $10 right here in my overall news bank total. And
Michelle,
go ahead.
when you created that placeholder,
Mhm.
how did you create it without creating an item?
Let's see if I remember how to do this. Okay, new basket, Morningstar. Test. Oh, test 2, because we already have one. Save. And then I just walk away. And it's created. I didn't delete it. I left it alone. And so you go back into Morningstar. Forget where Morningstar is now. I always should pick easier ones to find. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Morningstar. And you'll see here, here's your blank invoice or blank basket. And now you can always receive off of a blank basket.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Because we also had the infinite overdrive until I moved into my position. And since I'm the technology person too, I have access to the full admin. And I was like, well, why do we got to do it? This works this way.
Yeah, that only makes sense to me too. So thanks.
Any other questions while I got my screen shared? Nope. All right.
Mhm. All right, thank you so much, Michelle. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that was figuring out how to do the blank baskets, I guess they are. That was a turning point for us, I remember. And being able to do some of the stuff that we wanted to do with things that we didn't want to create items for in the catalog. So that was a big thing. Okay, we've got maybe 15, 20 minutes left. And I just want to open it up for any comments or questions. Are there any, pardon me, my voice today. Are there any bugs that people are chomping at the bit to get out there? And
I do have something again as a new
Sure.
person. We're using OCLC, the 975 field to download, the records into Koha. Do any of you use OCLC at all for that purpose?
Yes.
No.
Ping does.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And we were having problems with, of course, with the 952 from OCLC. I don't know if you also use that for cataloging, but it's working perfectly. But in the 975, with the acquisitions, there's various fields that cannot be downloaded. For example, the barcode and the volume or enumeration, and especially there's another one that we have.
The location qualifier.
The location qualifier. And if we were able to download those, then we wouldn't have to do anything in Koha. It would just review it, revise it like we do with cataloging, and it's done. And anyway, we put that as a bug, but of course they came up with a cost of $5,000 or whatever. But to be able to come up with a fix for that. But what other alternative do you guys use other than downloading it from OCLC? Do you do it directly? I know that most of you have EDI and that has solved a lot of your problems, but how did you do it before you had EDI?
Is this question for me?
Yeah, ping it.
I have nothing to do with EDI. If you're talking about download big record from OCLC or Library of Congress and other libraries, I think we have a lot of choices. I don't understand when you say you download the record, you have to download the
975.
When you download the record, you download that acquisitions level record. Is that right? You're acquisitions librarian, right?
Yes.
So the record is not going to be perfect. We download whatever is offered on OCLC. Basically, we can tell the difference between e-record and the print record. Then for print record, you want to download the one with the most users, so it's not perfect. After that, you pass this to your cataloger, who is going to edit and make it accurate. That's our procedure. We call this acquisitions level download.
Yeah, that sounds good.
If you cannot find the record in OCLC or Library of Congress or other libraries, you create basic record from the template. You give basic information, author, title, ISBN, give basic information. The whole idea is posted, uploaded to the system for the catalog to pick up. Is that right?
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, we'll figure it out. No problem. I guess a lot of you don't do a lot of the. Well, we did it the old-fashioned way, but we'll figure it out one way or the other. Eventually, we'll go into EDI and with Ingram at least and see how that works for us. With Ingram, with you guys that do EDI, you send all the stuff, collection codes, etc., to them, and they automatically come in, right? You don't have to worry about none of that. I'll just review the record, make sure everything's there, and we're set.
Yeah. Yeah, you tell them what you want and which fields you want them in when you set it up initially, and then after that, once it's set up, all that stuff, the item level stuff, just comes in with the full record, and with the acquisition, like the brief record, I guess that's what we're talking about now, but. All that information. We don't, the brief record doesn't have things like the barcode and the, what else? It just has like the shelving location and the home library and the item type and any, like a notes, if we put any notes in Ingram, we'll put that into the non-public note in Koha. But the barcode, correct me if I'm wrong, Holly, do we get the barcode in the brief record? I don't think so.
No, that's the barcode, you put barcode yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
Actually, we get the barcode automated through the full record.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't. We use our own barcode.
Yeah, we get it with the full record, but we don't get it with the acquisitions record.
You get a barcode from the
vendor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? We don't. We still use the sheet, a lot of piles of sheet, and within our range,
Yep.
because we don't have any. So we stick on, then we scan. We just scan, and that's it.
Yeah, we do that for things like if we get something from Amazon or something like that, duplicates that we want to get real fast, then we'll do what you're talking about. But when we're doing it through EDI, the brief record doesn't have some of that stuff because they don't know it at the time. That's basically whether the determining factor is whether they can give us that information at that time. And they don't know the barcode. They don't know the call number either, I don't think. So some of that, but some of the stuff that's pretty static, like, you know, we know where it's which collection it's gonna be in, what shelving location, we know which library, all that kind of stuff comes in on the acquisition level record.
Okay, so you get a short record from Ingram with all that information.
Yep.
And then how do you get the actual record? Do you download it, or do they send them later, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
So yeah, so we get those when they ship the books. They will also ship us a file electronically. They will send us a file with all the MARC records, full MARC records, including all the item information with the barcodes and the call numbers and all that kind of stuff is in that full record. And that comes, you know, it usually shows up a day or two before the physical items, just because, you know, electronic goes faster than physical through the mail. But yeah, that's how we do that. So we, with Ingram, you work with their programmers to tell them which fields in the full record you want to be filled, and what, you know, what goes in what subfield and all that good stuff.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So Rhonda, when you say the records, you download the records with full with barcodes. So
Mhm.
later when they ship the books are processed already with the barcodes when you see in the system, right?
Yep. Mhm.
You know, this sounds like the one we work with EBSCO Gobi for some shelf-ready books. I don't know who are working with the shelf-ready. And we pay the processing fee, you know, to a certain level. They get the barcode ready, everything ready. They send us record, but our catalog doesn't like it. Catalog said they always send. Sometimes the record is missing, and then when we scan the barcode, the book is not in the system, and EBSCO Gobi said, you wait for the final record, which is a full record, and the catalog has to download again, and a lot of overlap. Then later we just stop. They just said, don't send us those shelf ready. We want to do ourselves.
Okay.
I don't know whether you have the problem. Anybody has this problem?
Yeah, pretty much our catalogers don't touch any kind of cataloging until the books are actually in the building. So then by then the full records have already shown up and they're ready to go. So I don't know if that makes a difference. It kind of sounds like your cataloger is kind of jumping the gun before the books are in the building to start doing some cataloging.
You know, I think the timing issue after I place order with Gobi, then Gobi sent the first batch of record. That's called the basic level record.
Mm-hmm.
And she tried to, it's in our system already. Then the book is, you have to wait for a long time. I would say almost 1 month.
Yep.
Then later, I think right before the book arrived, arrived, and they sent another record.
Mm-hmm.
So then, for whatever reason, the final record and always final records always have issue. The only way to find is when I scan book in the system, I don't find the book.
Oh.
So then she said, oh, the record is missing. When did they send this? And she called for stop. Just say, don't send us any processed record. We first we pay a lot, and we spend a lot of time fixing this. So.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was just checking the comments over here. So George says you pay extra for pre-processing, right? And for shelf ready, yes, definitely. And yeah, Judy comments that Baker and Taylor shelf ready is about $4 per item, including cataloging and processing.
Looks like.
So that's probably ballpark. We sort of do a hybrid, if you will. We get some of the processing done, and we get the full records from Ingram. I think they're like 35 cents or something for the full records. And then we get some processing done based on whether it's a, hardcover or a paperback or whatever. And then we will, we don't have them glue down the Mylar jackets because we like to put our little, stickers and stuff under the Mylar jacket because they survive a lot longer. And some of our spine labels, we don't get spine labels on everything. Some of it we do, some of it we don't, just because we like to tweak it, and we end up changing more of them if we do get them. So yeah, we kind of do a hybrid thing, but yeah, you do pay extra for the pre-processing. All right. We are down to, well, it depends on which clock I look at, about 5 minutes. Does anybody else have any questions? And definitely use the listserv. So was it Ray and Maribel? I don't know if you're signed up for the what is it, listserv, or the special interest group listserv for the group that just goes to acquisitions people with acquisitions kinds of questions. So if you're not, we can, I think you can sign up on the koha-US.org website when they have on the page. Okay, you're not. Okay, so I think there. Okay, Jason put the link in the chat to go to the special interest page, and then there's a button you can click, and that will allow you to, that will sign you up or to join the group. Okay.
Can I ask real quick? I know we're ending and this is going to be a longer conversation, but just a brief answer from anyone. We're closing out our fiscal year end of June. Does everyone usually zero that out, or do you have two budgets running at one time, like for AY that's going to come in after fiscal year close? Or just curious, because we usually try to zero everything out before we close out the fiscal year. Anyone else do differently?
I don't know. So,
We
well-
don't zero it out. Oh, sorry, Anna, go
yeah,
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, we don't zero it out. We try to, but there's always gonna be money left. And honestly, I like seeing how much every year, like, oh, 5 years ago, we left $10,000. Oops. It kind of also is good for tracking that AY 1 year was really low. What happened? Or 1 year AY was really big. What happened? So it's nice to see history if we don't zero it out completely.
So what do you do with those pending orders then, Michelle?
I just edit them, push them into the next upcoming fund. So what's on order right now in AY, it's not going to make it until July 10th. Well, that's obviously next fiscal year. So I go in and I tell it, okay, now it's AY.2023, not AY.2022. So it moves forward.
So you manually edit each item?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
I wish there was a faster way. It's like, oh, look at all of these, move them out. No, sadly there isn't.
Thank you.
Actually, there is a way.
Ooh.
Because that's what we do. And maybe this is, I'm just trying to think. Next month is June. That would be before the end of year. Maybe that's the topic that we look at next time, is how to close out a year and roll everything from 1 year to the next year, so that on order items in your current year get rolled into the next year. Because there's a way to do that, and we've done that the last couple of years. It's really slick, because it's really annoying when you've got something you don't realize it's in last year's budget still, and it comes in and it charges against last year's budget, and you're like, why are my numbers off, and all that good stuff. But yeah, there is a way to do it. So we can start out next time just talking about year end stuff, because I think, I don't know, there's, okay, so California obviously is end of June, year end. I know Texas is end of September. I don't know, what the rest of them are, but those are all things that are coming up in the next little bit. So maybe we can look at year end processing next time.
That would
How's
be
that?
great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the participation. This has been a really great session. Welcome to Maribel and Ray. And if you have any questions, you can contact me or anybody else here. So which library are you guys at again?
We're Monterey County Free Libraries in Marina, California.
Okay, so you're California as well. All right. All right. Then you've got some friends up and down the road there.
Thanks for everything, everybody.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see everybody next month. Have a good month. Oh yes, before everybody, Jason reminded me, submit your proposals for the Koha conference for 2022. Yeah, and he put the link in there for where to go. So this is going to be KohaCon. So this will be an international conference that's taking place in Lawrence, Kansas, and koha-US is kind of, I don't forget the phrase that we use, kind of sponsoring KohaCon kind of thing. So if you possibly can join us there, we can see each other in person. That'll be super great. And get your proposals in, because the more visibility acquisitions and stuff gets, I can honestly say that the last time I presented at KohaCon with an acquisitions thing, one of the developers was watching my presentation and was like, I can make that step easier. And by the end of the conference, they had a bug that was, signed off for clearing something up. So definitely get your presentations out there. That's super. And yes, and stick around till Saturday and Robin will take you to a Kansas City Royals game. How can you go wrong with that? All right. All right, everybody. See you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.